Hello guys, welcome to Hotspot Economics, Hotspot, and it's your girl Connie, and I want to talk about feminism today. I know this is my forte because I am an HR director, so I deal a lot with these issues, being proactive and making sure people are aware of what could be potentially sexual harassment, what could be potentially sexual assault, and just inappropriate work behavior. So I know you guys have been seeing everything happening. I'm just gonna jump right in. I don't know if you guys heard about Pamela Anderson. This headline is kind of drastic. You can tell this is pro-feminist, extreme feminist, again, striking radical feminist. She didn't say that in the interview. I saw the whole interview, but the headline says Pamela Anderson blames Harvey Weinstein's victims for alleged sexual assault. So let me just tell you a little bit about Pamela Anderson for those of you who might be younger. Pamela Anderson was one of the biggest sex symbols in American history. She was in that show Baywatch, which was almost filmed in every language and every continent on the United States. So basically, Baywatch was a bikini, really hot, high cut bathing suits, just a bunch of hot girls on the beach running around. And Pamela Anderson was one of them. She actually graced the cover of Playboy 14 times. So she was a number one girl in Hollywood. Like, if she could know anything about sexual harassment, she would be the one. If she could know about it, that's the person you want to know about because, a sex symbol, blonde, big boobs, she had rock star boyfriends. So I'm pretty sure, and she was also into acting. So I'm pretty sure she was in that situation. So when I first saw this headline, I was a little bit taken aback because I thought Pamela Anderson, out of all people, would have these stories to tell. I mean, if they're, harassing other women, not saying it goes by attraction level, but this was a person that was a very sexual, sexy, sensual person. So I'm just going to play a little bit of the video and just do my commentary. So the whole point of this video is showing you that extreme white feminism is falling apart. And when you have women like Pamela Anderson, who is perhaps one of the most famous sex symbols of our time, come forward and say the things she said, come forward and said that she was actually able in Hollywood never to be in those situations. Because now it's getting a little bit drastic. Now it's not just about sexual harassment, it's about dominance. Because as you see the news, the majority, overwhelming majority of the demographics who are making these alleged accusations are Caucasian females. And if you were to just to watch the TV, you would actually think only white women got sexually harassed. You're not seeing what the statistics actually say. If you just pause this video and look at the data, you will see when it comes to sexual assault, you will see when it comes to rape, violent rape, you will see when it comes to homicide, molestation. When you just violence against women, African American women are disproportionately affected. That is a statistical fact. Yet, when these cases come up, we are severely underrepresented in what we're seeing on TV. There's absolutely zero attention on real and proven assault. And when I mean real, when I say by real, is that a lot of people don't know when you're working in a private business, the actual sexual harassment is not liable to legal law. So what does that mean, Connie? What's that mumbo jumbo? So if you're going to go to the police precinct and say, I've been sexually harassed, there's a certain specific legal criteria you have to fall in to be applicable, to able to go ahead and file this. You can't use guesses or, oh, he was looking at me, or he bought me coffee, he bought me flowers. That's not something that a police officer will go out and arrest somebody for. Groping, touching, grabbing, inappropriate behavior, verbal assault. These are things police can actually do. But in a private business, I think a lot of Americans don't know, it's completely up to the perception of the victim. So, for instance, if I buy a cup of coffee for an attractive coworker and I leave a note that says, hey, I think you're beautiful, I'd like to get to know you, they can actually turn that into the HR department, which they have, and say they've been sexually harassed. So a lot of the actions are really legitimately, it really goes according to the accuser. And a lot of Americans don't know that. When we hear sexual harassment, we think of somebody getting their ass slapped or their booty pinched, like back in the 40s and the 50s, back in the 60s, when women's rights were in the trash. And, you can basically do anything you want to your secretary. And that is not the case. And also, a lot of Americans don't know that over 16% of all Americans meet their spouse in the workplace. So also, if that's happening, that means people are dating. And if people are dating, people are breaking up. And if people are breaking up, people are disgruntled. And hell has no woman like a woman scorned. I've dealt with many couples that broken up, and sometimes if it doesn't go right, the girl can come forward and say she had a relationship with a manager, and even though it was consensual at the time, she can now say, now that the relationship is over, she feels sexually harassed. Even if it was consensual, if she comes to me as an HR director and shows pictures or texts, I see men get in trouble all the time. They show me texts, and even though these are private texts during a relationship, if you both are still working there and you broke up, yes, believe it or not, that will be considered unprofessional behavior if you two choose not to disclose that relationship in the very beginning. Because disclosure will actually help to protect you in some companies. Some companies don't entertain dating at all. They have strict policies, and some companies are more lenient. I've worked for companies where they say, just let us know, and according to the parameters, if you're both on the same level, both in the same department, you don't manage each other, they don't really care. Just make sure you maintain a professional environment. If you're dating someone and it's a boss relationship, they might ask you to go to a different department, transfer you, or even ask one of you to resign. So with those things, a lot of people don't come forward. A lot of people rather just stay quiet to themselves and don't say anything. So I just want to show you Pamela Anderson here, because this is really interesting. I'm going to play it really, really quick.
So you may think you know my next guest. You've certainly seen her as the global star of Baywatch and gracing the cover of Playboy magazine 14 times. But there is far more to Pamela Anderson than all that, as I discovered in a wide-ranging conversation on the perils of being a woman in Hollywood to reckoning with her own trauma as a victim of childhood sexual abuse. Watch. You've been open about the fact that you've had abuse in your past, and you use the word, I felt embarrassed. I think there's so many women out there now feeling that way about their own harassment or abuse, or something that happened to them, embarrassed. To them, what would you say?
So I just want to pause it right there. So before we even continue, I want to note that Pamela Anderson, she's telling you that she was a victim of sexual assault and sexual trauma. And so this is not somebody that's talking craziness. This is somebody who's experienced it. This is somebody that actually went through, sincere trauma. She talked about being gang raped. She talked about being molested. So this is somebody that is not out of touch what it is to experience that. And I'm glad as a victim, she's able to talk about that experience, because it makes what else she says after more credible.
Well, yeah, we naturally blame ourselves. I didn't tell my mother for a long time, and even when I told her, she went, oh, well, that's in the past. Don't even think about it anymore. But you somehow think that you were to blame. But I learned to never put myself in those situations again. And when I came to Hollywood, of course, I had a lot of offers to do private auditions and things that made absolutely no sense, just common sense. Don't go into a hotel room alone. Don't, if someone answers the door in a bathrobe, leave. There's these things that are common sense. But I know Hollywood is very seductive, and people want to be famous.
So let's stop it right there. So basically, Pamela Anderson is talking about not putting yourself in that situation. And I just want to just go into that. She used a very subliminal ending, very subliminal, when she said, you know, people want to be famous. So this is what I was saying before in private conversations. Harry Weinstein had a very, very bad reputation. He was known to do what you call it couch casting. So if you want to roll, or if you want to, you want to advance in your career, you would sleep with him. So, pay attention to what she said. I'm going to just rewind it a little bit so you guys can hear. Pay attention to what Pamela Anderson's saying.
Or in a bathrobe, leave. There's these things that, but of course, I've had a lot of offers to do private auditions and things that made absolutely no sense, just common sense. Don't go into a hotel room alone. Don't, if someone answers the door in a bathrobe, leave. There's these things
And
that are.
and that's what I'm trying to say. It's really important for you to know the implications of what's occurring right now, especially for men in general, for men that could be in this accusation. So basically, this is what you call regret rape. This is what you call consensual rape. And it's a new age type of rape where even if I have consensual sex with you, I can always say at the end, I withdraw consent because I reconsider why I had sex with you, or I'll say I felt pressured, or you were offering me something and you told me the only way I can get it is having sex with you. But at the time, I agreed to the sex. So this is something I think is a formulation of extreme feminism, better known as radical feminism, which is just, misogynistic the other way around, an attack on men. Because I'm a grown woman, I can talk. You're hearing me talk, wah, wah. And I'm telling you right now that I have never gone into a hotel room with a man who was not my boyfriend. You have to ask yourself, we're all adults. We've all been to hotels. And if it's for business, every hotel has a conference room and a meeting room. If it's for business, most hotels have a lobby with chairs and really nice. And if it's an expensive hotel, like most of those high-end hotels, you definitely have a bar or a restaurant. Most hotels do, even the smallest boutique hotels. There's absolutely no reason to go to a man's apartment, a man's house for an interview. And I know what you're saying. If you're hearing this, you're going to be like, oh my God, can't a guy invite you to his hotel room or his apartment without sex? Of course he can. Of course he can. But you as a woman, you want to be proactive. And once again, in a perfect world, I should be able to walk down the street completely naked and say, you know what, I don't have to wear clothing, but that's not the type of world we live in. You have, nude laws, indecent exposure laws, and you have common sense. And this is my thing. A lot of these girls did this and perhaps felt bad afterwards. I don't think anyone's accusing Harry Weinstein or Weinstein, whatever his guy's name is, of violent rape. I don't think he's been accused of holding people down while they're screaming no. These girls went into the room. They know he's a famous Hollywood producer. They know he has massive connections. Hollywood's a very small community. Word spread. People knew what this guy is about. I did some research. It was not a secret that this guy was a sex fiend, and he used his power and prestige to get beautiful women into his bed. But you have to tell me, if someone propositioned you, you're not forced to do it. If you think that's rape, then we have a difference, because there are women in Brooklyn, there's women in the Bronx, there's women in, really bad urban neighborhoods who are getting violently raped, butchered, killed, abducted. While I'm talking to you, 75,000 Black women are absolutely missing. While I'm talking to you, there's someone who's African American being domestically abused. So this is not me making fun. It's just amazing how extreme white feminism say they care about women and women as a whole, when they have ignored the Black women's suffrage. They have ignored that, what are the issues in that Black neighborhood. Now they don't want to take responsibility for their sexuality, in the sense where if a guy's offered me a job and says, hey, I want to conduct the interview in the hotel, that's not happening. I've interviewed in hotels, in the restaurant. I've met executives in the hotels, in the lobby, in the conference room. I have never met a business professional inside of their hotel bedroom behind closed doors. If you have, please leave that in the comments. And how come we don't hear about men having these weird men on men meeting in the hotel rooms and men on men meeting in apartments? Obviously, these women know that they can use their beauty, their finesse, and sometimes, yes, sleeping with these men to get to where they want. Is it wrong to use your sexual prowess? Of course. Is it illegal? That's the question. If I'm a guy and I have a Benz and I'm driving by and I honk, 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 honk my Benz and say, hey, hot stuff, get in my car, is that illegal? It's really tacky and cheesy for you to, for me to use my car and honk my horn and think just because I'm driving a, $100,000 car. But what happens? Girls get in. And girls might have sex, they might have some foreplay. Is it okay after that whole episode for the girl to go to the police precinct and say she had regret rape? Because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. There was Lupita, the beautiful African American actress from, I think, 12 Years a Slave or 10 Years a Slave, something like that. She actually had an encounter with Weinstein, and she said he tried to take her upstairs. Like, they were having dinner or meeting someplace in the hotel, and he wanted to take her to a more intimate, remote location. And she simply said no. He was like, you don't know what you're missing. Everybody does this. Are you sure? And she was like, absolutely not. I'm good. And continued the conversation and left the premises. And that was it. So she was the only one the media allowed Harry Weinstein to disparage. She was the only one that the extreme radical feminists, who are predominantly white women, did not stick up for. Can you imagine if Harry Weinstein came out and said anything against the other women that allegedly accused him? I was so shocked that no one came to this girl's rescue. Sorry, had a little cold, but nobody came to this girl's rescue. That they allowed the media allowed this guy to say disparaging comments, and no feminist came forward to say, hey, how dare you. It was very striking, and I think one of the reasons why that happened is because she showed that it was a choice. I think that's why they allowed Harry Weinstein, or Weinstein, whatever that guy's name is, to actually disparage her story and say it never happened. Now, if it was any of she's the only black female, and you think it's a coincidence that the only black female that said, hey, he asked, he offered, he draped it up, he made it look all sexy, and she was like, no, no, thank you. So I think that indirectly, subliminally, the white feminists want her story to be a little shaky. They want her story to be not so credible. So I'm just going to play the rest of this for you guys.
They're common sense, but I know Hollywood is very seductive, and people want to be famous, and sometimes you think you're going to be safe and with an adult in the room, or I don't know where this security comes from, but somehow I dodged it all. I've been offered lots of things: a condo and a Porsche to be someone's number one girl.
So I just want to pause it there. Somehow I dodged it all. I've been offered a car, a Porsche. So you have to understand again, Pamela Anderson was a top sex symbol. You might not remember it. You might say, Connie, shut up. But she was. She was on the top of Playboy 14 times, on top of that cover. She was a big Hugh Hefner favorite girl. Like Howard Stern went crazy over her. So if you don't remember her, you probably go like, oh, who is this girl? But she was massive. Like she was with rockers, Tommy Lee and everybody. And what I'm trying to tell you is that if this didn't happen to her, if you really have to listen to this. If this didn't happen to her, um, why did it happen to other women? She was a prime target, very sexual, posing naked in Playboy, blonde hair, big boobs. She was not a top actress, but she got offered roles, and I'm sure she could have used those sexual favors to get further. So you really have to ask yourself, What is going on with the other women? Why are they not Hispanic? Why are they not Asian? Why are they not Indian? Why are they not Native American? Why is it only white females? And why are we not talking about the other documented legal statistics with the Department of Affairs? Why we're not talking about what happens to black women who are actually on the records, in the data, in statistics, for being disproportionately assaulted, killed, murdered, raped, and domestically abused more than any other demographic disproportionately. So you have to ask yourself why.
I just naively said, well, there must be number two then, so I'm not interested. Or just money, homes, roles in movies, and I just didn't want to do it that way. I had no desire, and I'm a romantic, and that didn't appeal to me.
I understand you have had a Harvey Weinstein encounter.
He's very intimidating, and I was doing a movie, Superheroes or something, I barely remember it, and I played the invisible girl with an invisible dog, and as a PETA activist and animal activist, I don't work with animals in film because they're treated horribly, and so I said, if I have an invisible dog, I just want to make sure there's no dog there, and I can't do the film if there's going to be a dog in the film, and that was it. And then he called and said, you little, you're so lucky that I put you in a film, and you're Pamela Anderson, you don't deserve anything. If you don't do this, you'll never work in this town again, and this whole thing. And I was like, never in my life I've been talked about. And I've had some really bad boyfriends, and I've never been talked to this way.
Were you surprised when you heard all the women coming out about him?
No. I think it was common knowledge that certain producers or certain people in Hollywood are people to avoid.
And you heard what she said. I think it was common knowledge that certain producers and certain, people are to be avoided. So you have to ask yourself, if Pamela Anderson, who was hot and a top girl back in her day, who was getting offered cars, houses, and stuff like that, if she was getting offered all that stuff, but she avoided it. Like, if there's somebody to talk about sexual abuse and sexual assault and the come-ons of men, she dealt with rockers. That's like the really, rambunctious. She dealt with like really intense situations. And I'm just, and she's had sexual trauma in her life. So I was very fascinated with this video. And, you're going to see.
Privately. You know what you're getting into if you go to a hotel room alone.
Well, a lot of the women talk about how they felt.
Did you hear what she said? You know what you're getting into if you go into a hotel room alone. And I agree with her. It's just that right now you have extreme radical feminism that wants women to dominate men. They don't want equality. They want dominance. And as a woman who's seen domestic abuse, as a woman who's volunteered in domestic abuse, as somebody who's put Vaseline on someone's cheek after the jawbone was like popping out because it was split open, and when I see white women complaining about men just talking to them or they're regretting their consensual sexual relationships, this is alarming because it's taking away resources, money, and profit away from the small profit charities that we have in the urban cities. And black women are the ones disproportionately affected. And this is why I said, extreme feminism is not for women of color. Because you have Pamela Anderson, the top sex symbol of our time, and she was on the cover of Playboy 14 times. So even if you don't like her, she was super famous. I even got to meet her once in Macy's when she came out. I think she came out with a lipstick, or she was promoting something for MAC. And this is a long time, and she was always been a PETA person. And they actually interviewed me and asked me, why do you like Pamela Anderson? And I was like, oh, well, I admire her work with animals. I'm an animal lover. I believe in, treating animals well and humanely. So I respect that about her. She's been that way always. But I really respect her more for being upfront and honest and speaking the common sense. Like I said, no one deserves to get raped. No one deserves to get raped. No one deserves to get raped. But if you go into a room with a guy and you have consensual sex, and he's offering you a job, he's offering you a plane, he's offering you a car, you have to say to yourself, is that rape? Rape is forcible. So let's just say you have sex with the guy and he gives you a role and you feel awful, like you feel bad that you had to degrade yourself to that manner, but you made that choice. He didn't pull you in that room. He didn't force himself on top of you. Like, you made a conscious decision to have that sex. And if he wasn't connected, if he was a regular guy on the street, right? If he was some bum off the street and he said the same things like Harry Weinstein, like, if he was a regular guy from the hood and he couldn't buy you a fucking bottle of water and he couldn't buy you a candy around the corner, would you have slept with him? Absolutely not. These women are engaging these men who are powerful, hopefully to get, a favor or response. I'm going to play the rest right here.
Their agent set it up. Their agent wouldn't put them in a dangerous position. This is a famous guy.
Then go with them. That's what they should have done. Sent somebody with them. I just think there's easy ways to remedy that. That's not a good excuse.
I think next time, now there's more awareness.
Now there's more awareness, for sure.
The dangers that lurk.
The dangers that lurk.
I know that you've been critical of, online pornography and what that does.
So, do you see how they say, like, online pornography? So basically, I'm just going to cut the video here. So they're trying to disparage her and say, well, you're talking about women this and that, but you've done, people consider Playboy porn, which it's not. Porn is people having actual sex, completely naked, having sex for real on camera for money. So I'm just going to stop it there. So I was very interested in Pamela Anderson after this, and I was surprised. She got attacked by the extreme feminists. They went crazy over the Harry Weinstein comments, absolutely crazy, like posing her next to him as if she's an ally. And it says right here, Pamela Anderson has reiterated her comments about the victims of Harry Weinstein. In a controversial interview, Anderson stated that victims of Harry Weinstein knew what they're getting into. Weinstein has been the center of a criminal investigation, rape and sexual assault. For any non-consensual, he equivalently denies any non-consensual sex. And this is what she said: don't go into a hotel room alone. If someone answers the door in a bathrobe, leave. Things are common sense. But I know Hollywood is very seductive and people want to be famous. And sometimes you think you're going to be safe, an adult in the room. So, she basically saying that these women know they seductive. And she, it's just really crazy. It's just really crazy what's happening right now. So I just want to post you right here. This is her Instagram. And it says for Pamela Anderson. But this is something interesting about her. She's actually not with feminists. She's actually anti, because read what she says. My interview on the Today Show, Meg Kelling, somebody has to say this. Please don't worry. Refer people to my blog and long-standing commitment to defending the vulnerable. We have the power to be safe and free by using common sense. My message is consistent throughout. I'm a deep thinker. I have a unique perspective, and consequence is part of my life. This is great. I'm also an advocate for men. So, guys, I just don't agree with it all. Backlash is good. I like this. My position is not problematic. Okay? Problemic. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm tired. But she says, I'm trying to tell women, as a survivor of childhood abuse myself, it is important to be proactive as an adult who knows better in defending themselves. So you can read this on her Instagram. She posted it. But what's interesting when she says, I'm also an advocate for men. So this is an indirect shot to radical feminists. She knows, guys, she knows what she's saying. She knows what she's doing. If you are a radical feminist or extreme feminist and you see an advocate for men, you're going to pop your blood vessel. But this is what I've been trying to tell men for a long time. You have a large section of, unfortunately, and I mean this, I'm not attacking race, but this is a factual statement. You have disproportionately a large section of radical, extreme feminists who are predominantly Caucasian who are attacking men. And nobody wants to say it because you just get killed. So you have a top sex symbol, Pamela Anderson, who should be able to tell you about this like nothing. Who should be able to tell you about this like the back of your hand. She should be the one talking about sexual assault and being confronted and stuff. But she's lived in Hollywood and she's telling you it's just not true that these people knew what they were getting into. And I believe that, but extreme feminism wants to be able to reverse time. And by that I mean they want to be able to, say, hey, even if it happened, I feel bad now, so I want to take this back. And as someone who's worked in Presbyterian, I've worked in Woodhull, I've worked in clinics, HIV, domestic abuse. As someone who's seen people's faces bashed in, true victims of domestic abuse, rape, as someone who looks at the homicide numbers, as someone who looks at the missing 75,000 Black women who are missing, and to see people who are, you know, making bad decisions and regretting them, getting all the attention, it's really unfortunate because we need those resources. We need help. The Black community, the Black women are severely abused, and we need that help. And when you have white women who are privileged, who have nothing else to complain about, they have to make stuff up or not be honest with the entire situation. When you have 16% of all Americans meeting and getting married on the job, and not admitting about breakups and relationship issues. And I mean, if 16% of Americans are admitting getting married from somebody they met on the job, just think about how many breakups and relationships are all in between that. You think people are being honest and forthcoming? You really think Matt Lauer was running around throwing vibrators at people? I mean, people are having affairs, people are cheating, and people are married, and men don't leave their wives, and women get catty because they thought, I thought Bob was going to leave Marissa for me. All this stuff. So it's really important that we are honest with ourselves. It's really important that we note what white extreme feminism is doing. And I'm so proud of Pamela Anderson saying she's an advocate for men. I'm really proud for her to step up and say that and make a shot that extreme feminism is not for her. So also, before I go, I do want to talk about this. This thing has gone crazy with LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's this thing online where it's super annoying. You have women coming out and saying LinkedIn's not a dating site. So if you've been on LinkedIn, I've talked about this before in other private chats. You have women that are now saying, even if a guy comes up to you on LinkedIn and this is what they're complaining about. They actually took some quotations. Hey, hi, I'm working for a mining company in South Africa, or I'm sorry, but your pic was so captivating. I had to go against the terms and conditions of this very great site to contact you. Or I usually don't react this way to a profile, but yours seem really special, and I would love to be friends and see where this takes us. So women are complaining, and they actually said they're lobbying against LinkedIn to have people take these people accounts down. And you know it says it's harassing, and it's demeaning, and it damages your business. It's risky, and it's just really crazy that white women are getting mad. I can see if the guys are sending penis pictures, or they're being very, just nasty and aggressive and creepy, because even on the dating site, you're not supposed to be like that. You're always supposed to be a gentleman. But they're complaining because men are saying, I'm sorry, but your pic was so captivating. I had to go against the terms and conditions of this very great site to contact you. And I usually don't react this way to a profile, but yours seem really special, and I'd love to be friends and see where this takes us. So it's only going to get worse because you have women reporting men, and men are losing their jobs. I talk about this, and people say, "Oh, Connie, you're attacking white women." No, we're not attacking anyone. This is a demographic truth. This is statistical truth. This is a fact. This is me looking up the data and seeing who are making these accusations, who's posting this post on LinkedIn, why LinkedIn's on a dating site. So let's go to the other one. So this is one that got people fired. All right, LinkedIn is not a dating site. The case against your dad's favorite social media platform being used to connect with younger women. LinkedIn's a lot of things: a convenient place to upload your resume online, a weird portal for thinkfluencers to post inspirational screeds about leadership, and who's been checking out your profile, but it's indisputably the social network choice of older men. So now they're attacking mature men. The evidence for this is both anecdotal. Everyone's dad loved LinkedIn, and statistical 30% of LinkedIn users are over 50. The knowledge of this used to be very comforting. On any given day, you log in and find a wealth of posts dealing with 10 tips for talking technology, how to pursue lifelong learning. But this week, after the 27-year-old English barista, Charlotte Proudman tweeted a LinkedIn message sent to her by a much older partner at a law firm complimenting her stunning picture. So look what she's doing. This guy's working at a law firm. Do you know how sensitive you see, when I talk like this, you guys don't listen until you men get hit. This is a 27-year-old girl. She's a fucking bartender. Are you kidding me? Getting hit on by a lawyer. Let that be a black woman. She'll be like, oh my God, girl. Let it be any other race. And you know what? I have white women who even tell me this is ridiculous. You have white women who are like, okay, this is extreme feminism. So she actually reported this guy. And not before she imported him. She screenshot the picture and you know, she screenshot the picture and she actually embarrassed the guy online. So even this author is saying the second is that some men are apparently hoping LinkedIn is a new Ashley Madison. Look how they're degrading men. Do you guys know what Ashley Madison is? Is Ashley Madison is like the worst site ever. It's a site for married people who want to date other married people, idiots. But this is what happens when women get overzealous. When you have this is why I said you have to look at the demographics. You have to look at the race. You have to look to see what's happening behind the scenes. It's not fair to clump all women. If you ask any African American woman in my circle, and the guy said, let me show you the I keep talking. Let me show this is the I don't know if you guys can see it. But they blacked out the guy's name because he's been embarrassed enough. But this is what she posted, and she actually put it on it. She put it on Twitter. She put it on Twitter. Do you know how this guy's job is over? How are you? I apologize if my mail does not suit your personal or business ethics. And as much that we are on here to share professional ideas, can we go beyond the professionalism? I was fascinated with your profile. I am a widow. I find you very attractive. I still confess that your smile is really inviting. And are you single or married? Do you mind if I get? Do you mind if we get to know each other if we get to know each other more better and see how it goes? We'll be glad to hear from you. Waiting on your reply soon. So women, if you're listening to this video, God bless you if you got this far. I know I talk a lot. Can you tell me if that's sexual harassment? Can you tell me if that is traumatizing? Can you tell me if that's disturbing? Let me read it again. How are you? I apologize if my mail does not suit your personal or business ethics. He already apologized. In as much that we are on here to share professional ideas, can we go beyond the professionalism? I was fascinated with your profile. I'm a widow. I find you very attractive. I still confess that your smile is really inviting, and are you single now? Single or married? Do you mind if we get to know each other more better and see how it goes? We'll be glad to hear from you. Waiting soon in your reply. Like, if you're not interested, delete and block. Don't respond. Just like you do on a real dating site. Instead, this girl dragged this guy. You can't. They didn't leave it here. She put this on Twitter, and this is what she said. C.R. Proudman, read Standard News this morning. Just received this via LinkedIn. Thinking appropriate reply to this man. Okay, so this is what I think she said. Oh dear, such unprecedented acidity in the face of being paid a compliment and offering encouragement in your endeavors. I see this as not a profitable source of exploration. So I guess that's what he said back to her. And she said to him, hi, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with this message. As I recall, LinkedIn is on a dating site, and you've endorsed me for skills when you don't actually know me. So not only did this guy pay her a compliment, on LinkedIn you have a section where you can endorse people for skills they stated. How many people actually know each other? This guy endorsed her for skills. You're a freaking barista. What and then she says, I find this a bit odd. I'm not sure where you are going with this and what you expect here. So men, if you want to continue to stick up for extreme white feminism, go right ahead. Go right ahead. And you can't say, oh, well, you're stereotyping all white women. Again, I said you have plenty of white women like Pamela Anderson, who I just mentioned in the beginning of this video, who is not for this, who clearly said that she's an advocate for men. That's why I actually showed Pamela Anderson. So I don't want any idiots, emailing me saying you hate white women. If I did, I wouldn't have used Pamela Anderson, who is blonde hair and white, where she said she's an advocate for men. Okay, it's right here. Women are smart and powerful. And then she said, I'm also an advocate for men. Okay, you know why she's an advocate for men? Because she made her career off of men. She doesn't have any talent. She says it. She's very candid now in her mature age. She said if it wasn't for her sexuality, sexual appeal, she wouldn't be rich and famous. So she can't spit on men when she spent her whole entire life making money because of her beauty and sexual allure. And she sees the value in that. Okay? So when you have women that are putting lawyers in law firms on blast, okay? So look at this. You have another white woman, Marion, CRP, whatever her name is, CR Proudman. Thanks for speaking up. I received this a few years back, and the worst is he was offended by my reply. This is getting out of hand. I'm going to tell, if you're a white gentleman and you're listening to this, you don't have to deal with this. You don't have to do this. You have women from all over the world. You got Asian women. You got black women. Hello, the chocolate's waiting. You have Hispanic women. You don't have to put up with this anymore. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. And for you, this guy got in trouble with his job. You know, and look what they said. Like many women and men, I signed up for LinkedIn to connect with professionals in order to enhance my career prospects. Instead, I have received several messages commenting on my appearance and asking me to go on a date. After a catalog of these similar incidents, I decided to call out sexist behavior by a fellow lawyer by publishing his message and response on Twitter. How can you do this to a lawyer? Guys, tell me am I being a jerk? How could you do this to a lawyer on Twitter? Do you know he went to law school? Do you know he wasn't rude? This is, and now this is happening to more and more men. Okay? The first issue with this is that there are already a number of social networking platforms that exist for people who want to connect romantically. The fact is, he wasn't rude. And then they're attacking older men, saying, but is apparently has a plentiful number of older men looking to use their career success to impress ambitious young women with their mentorship. As a lawyer who complimented Proudman on her picture, wrote at the end, always interests to understate people's skill and how you might work together. Like, it's just sickening. It's just sickening. She published a post, a private message, and able to take a compliment and being called a feminazi. She is. Stop complimenting them. Stop talking to them. I'm serious. It's really bad. It's really bad. Franklin Sinclair, the head of the criminal law firm Tuckers, also seemed to call for retaliation against Proudman by other lawyers. All right? C.L. Proudman, what an awful thing to do. What kind of world do we live in when a man can't give a lady a compliment, get a life? This was disgusting. And I agree with the men. If you published it on Twitter, do you know what that could do to somebody's career? And more women are screenshotting the conversations and sending them straight to guys' workplaces. I was reading it in the post. Men are getting fired and separated and not even realizing why. Because they're considered this harassment. Look how the author says. The problem, at least for women like Proudman, is that receiving a compliment is one thing, but being put in an awkward position by a powerful person in the same industry is something else entirely. What are you talking about? You weren't applying for a job. You weren't asking him for anything. You don't know him. It's ridiculous. The act of networking is plenty obnoxious already without even considering all the gender, age, and status dynamics. And this is what I hate. You have these same white women who, when they're recruiting and hiring, don't look at black women, don't look at black men. Let's talk about real discrimination. Let's talk about real illegal shit that you guys do every single day. Let's talk about how many times I catch you if I have a fake profile with a white person and a fake profile with me, black, and it's the same information. How many white women have I've caught that discriminatory will not hire me or interview me, but if I pretend to be white, they'll go for the resume. Let's talk about how much undercover work we do with the EEOC and how much harassment and retaliation white women do to people of color in the workforce. Let's talk about real shit. Let's get serious here. Because you're destroying lives because you're getting all this attention from a lawyer. Oh my God, a lawyer said you were pretty. Stop the phone. And like I said, extreme feminism is not for women of color. If you are a white gentleman, if you're a black gentleman, if you're a man at all, do not talk to these women in these types of settings. Don't engage them. Now you're telling me the only way you can meet somebody is a dating app? You can't say hi on the bus, the train, anywhere, only an app? Is this what they want? Really? Guys, this is Hatsput Economics. Think about what I said. Connie out. I hope you enjoyed this video. And you can write your comments. Tell me your feedback. Ladies, I want to hear from you. Did the comments I read, were they bad? As always, I'll put these articles in the actual video so you guys can read it and see for yourself and give me your feedback. As always, like and subscribe. Have a wonderful night, guys.